She took a sip of her coffee and explained, "There will be a very important meeting next Monday." "What do you mean by important?" Kevin inquired curiously. "This afternoon, the Myriads abducted the leaders of the top 10 organizations. Roger Knott was behind it all. They're planning on shaking things up among the younger members and putting the most evil groups in their place." Professor Murdoch gave the details as she understood them. Kevin frowned slightly when he heard this. "What does this have to do with me? What do you think? The School for the Healing Arts is going to have a contest. Whoever wins is going to have to kill Roger Knott. Your development has already reached an extraordinary level. I'm very optimistic that you'll win the contest and handle the problem," Professor Murdoch said with certainty. Doesn't the school have any regard for human life? Kevin was unwilling to be involved in this plan. "Our mission is to destroy evil and promote what is good. Roger Knott is the ranking member of the Myriads. I don't know how many disasters he's caused. If I can get rid of him, the entire world will benefit. When the time comes, you must perform your duty well." Professor Murdoch finished her inspirational speech and hung up the phone. Kevin sat there on the sofa with a big frown on his face. He was actually a member of the Myriads, and the deputy sect leader considered him a brother. Not to mention, he was Mackenzie's grandfather. Kevin had to find a way to save Roger Knott's life. The problem was that there were a lot of experts in the school, and the ones who had offices in the library were especially lethal. Even if Kevin wanted to attack them, he was willing but not able. "It seems like I really have to enter the contest." Kevin made up his mind to do what he thought was right. Moments later, Lily and Nicole stepped out of the bathroom drying their hair. "How you doing, Kevin? Did you like what you saw?" Nicole teased. She didn't seem to mind that Kevin had just seen her in the buff. "What do you think I saw?" Kevin replied awkwardly. "Stop it, you two. Let's just drop the subject." Lily stopped Kevin from saying anything else. She was still feeling kind of embarrassed. "You two go ahead and hang out. I'm going to the study." Kevin got up from the sofa to head upstairs. "Hey, I didn't know you were so shy," Nicole loudly teased. "Make sure you study hard," and she emphasized the word, hard. Kevin almost slipped and rolled down the stairs, but he couldn't argue with her. Heaven knew how much Nicole would tease him about it later. The room suddenly became quiet. Lily had apparently recovered from the awkward scene in the shower and stood there silently drying her hair. Nicole broke the silence. "Lily, what happened to you? Did my joke make you feel uncomfortable?" "It's not because of you, Nicole. I was just thinking about how things are going between Kevin and me," Lily replied in a low voice. Nicole wasn't a dope and quickly understood what was on Lily's mind. "Aunt Dorothy still hasn't accepted Kevin, has she?" Nicole asked her very directly. "Kevin's got more ambition than he did before, and he knows a lot of famous and influential people. But for some reason, whenever he's with Mom, he acts like a..." Lily explained with a worried look on her face. "And you know what kind of person my mom is. I really don't know how to make them get along with each other." She looked Nicole in the eye and said very seriously, "One is my mother, and the other is my husband. I can't lose either of them." Nicole got serious and rolled her eyes. "It's simple. You and Kevin should have a baby. If Aunt Dorothy becomes a grandmother, she definitely won't dislike Kevin anymore." "But how can it be so easy to have a child? I haven't even slept in the same bed as Kevin for more than a month." Lily knew that Nicole wasn't joking around like she usually did. "Just take it one step at a time. The night is still young. Why don't we go out?" As expected, Nicole was feeling a little restless. "Where would we go in the middle of the night?" Lily said as she put down her towel. "How about a nightclub?" Nicole suggested excitedly. "Forget it." Lily didn't even want to think about it. She'd never liked going to places like bars and dance clubs, especially after that incident with Nolan Hill. She wasn't even thrilled about hotels. But Nicole's friends called her the nightclub queen when they were younger. After arguing back and forth, Lily finally relented and went up to the study to ask Kevin if he wanted to go with them. As they drove along, Kevin complained playfully, "I can't keep up with you two. You just showered and now you want to head out to a nightclub?" Why not? Don't you have fun anymore? Then Nicole looked around at the car's luxurious interior and exclaimed, So tell me, Kevin, are you rich now? This car is a hoot. It was a gift from Kevin's boss, Lily explained as they whizzed through traffic. That's one hell of a cool boss. Nicole was even more surprised and joked. What company is that, Kevin? Are they hiring? Are you sure you'd want to work for us? Kevin asked casually. However, he realized that Nicole might actually be a good fit at Williams Media. If he assigned her to Miss Wilson, she might really be successful in the entertainment industry. Oh, I'm not interested in working, Nicole replied before Kevin could say anything. But I'm really interested in your boss. Is he married? Lily laughed out loud. What are you laughing about, you stinker? Don't you think I've still got a good figure? Nicole ran her hands along her hips. Don't worry, Kevin. When I'm in charge of your company, I'll make sure you get to keep your job. After all, we're family. Nicole acted like it was a done deal. Kevin controlled his laughter and answered, Fine. I'll take you to my office tomorrow and introduce you to my boss's secretary. He turned his attention back to the snarled traffic on Michigan Avenue as he wondered if this was a good idea after all. As Kevin drove Lily and Nicole to a nightclub, they were discussing the possibility of Nicole getting a job at Williams Media. That depends on whether you have what it takes. After Kevin said that, he kept out of the rest of the conversation and focused on his driving. Even this late in the evening, traffic was a nightmare downtown. About half an hour later, the three of them walked into the club. They were immediately overwhelmed by the intense music. The place was a real meat market. Kevin noticed a couple sitting in a dark corner and wondered what they were up to. He pointed to an empty spot not far away from them and loudly said to Lily and Nicole, You two go over there and sit down. I'll go to the bar and get us some drinks. Go for it, Kevin. Nicole smiled and pulled Lily along as she walked towards the empty seats. When are we leaving, Nicole? This place is too noisy, and I'm not used to it. Lily's face didn't look too good. Don't worry, sis. There's a reason you're ready to leave. You're out of practice. Let's just hang out for an hour. Nicole smiled and teased. Why are you in such a hurry to go back? Are you and Kevin going to make... Nicole, would you please stop teasing me all the time? Lily blushed again as she thought about what had just happened in the shower. Just then, a tough-looking man suddenly walked over and put his beer on the table. He leered at Lily and Nicole. Do you want to find a quiet place and get to know each other? Why don't we just skip to goodbye? If you know what's good for you, you'll hurry up and leave. Nicole had a bad temper sometimes. Hey, babe, don't be so harsh. We don't know each other yet, but that doesn't mean we can't be friends. The man had no intention of leaving. Instead, he grabbed a chair and sat down. I'm sorry, but that seat's taken. You'll have to sit somewhere else, Lily said very coldly. Why don't we have a drink and get to know each other? The man gave Lily a creepy look, and he practically had drool coming out of the corner of his mouth. His name was Smitty, and he had a reputation for hitting on anything with a pulse. He'd been having a lot of bad luck that evening and was about to go to another club when Lily and Nicole caught his eye. I don't know how to drink, so why don't you just move along? Lily's expression was getting colder and colder. Don't treat me like that. Everybody can use a new friend. He stuck out his tongue and reached his hand out towards Lily's cheek. Suddenly, a thick and powerful palm grabbed Smitty's wrist. Don't you understand what she's saying? It's time to move along, Kevin said coldly. Who the hell are you? Smitty was really pissed to be interrupted like this. You don't need to know who I am. Just leave now while you still have your health. As Kevin said this, he exerted a little more force on the guy's wrist. The expression on the man's face changed drastically, and he gave Kevin a ferocious sneer. Hey, friend. First come, first serve. I saw her first, and you're cutting the line. He pulled his arm hard, trying to break free from Kevin's hold. But he was surprised to find that no matter how hard he tried, it didn't work. Kevin's hand was gripping him like a vice. Well, I'm her husband. Why would I need to cut in line? Kevin sneered as he suddenly let go of the man's wrist. When he opened his hand, Smitty fell to the floor because Kevin sometimes forgot his own strength. This kind of confrontation wasn't unusual for the nightclub. Since the two of them hadn't started a fight yet, they didn't attract much attention. When the onlookers saw that there wasn't much going on, they turned right around and went back to their dancing. "Get lost," Kevin finally shouted. Smitty jumped up from the floor and pointed at Kevin. "Wait and see what I do to you, kid." I hate people pointing at me and talking. "Get lost or you'll lose that finger." Kevin turned around and sat down, hoping that the guy would get the message and go bother someone else. Then he gestured to the server to bring their drinks over. Smitty gave Kevin a particularly nasty look. Then he walked out of the club and pulled out his cell phone to make a call. "Wow, Kevin, that was awesome. That guy even let you be a knight in shining armor saving a damsel in distress." Nicole took a sip of her drink. "He's just some petty local hoodlum. What's so amazing about it?" Kevin wasn't about to brag about what he'd done. He was a lot stronger than Smitty. "Hubby, I think we should just head home. That guy didn't look like someone to be trifled with," Lily said worriedly. "Don't worry, honey. If anything happens, I'll give Dalton a call. There's no tough guy bigger than him in all of Chicago." Kevin was trying to ease Lily's mind, but he wasn't joking. That was a fact. "Kevin, I know you have a good relationship with Dalton because you saved his wife's life, but you can't keep calling him up for everything." Not only did Lily feel even worse now, but she was also worried about hurting Kevin's friendship. "Stop it, guys. We're here to have fun, not get a lecture." Nicole admired her cousin, but she was being a real drag. Sure enough, Lily dropped the subject and just quietly sipped her drink. About 10 minutes later, there was a big commotion at the door, and they saw a dozen tall, sturdy men with knives in their hands and vicious looks in their eyes. Everyone in the nightclub stopped what they were doing. They didn't know where these people came from or what they wanted to do. Kevin, who had sharp eyes, could see the guy who'd just been giving them trouble. The manager of the club walked up to the men with a disarming smile. "Is anything wrong, Smitty? You look unhappy about something." "Get the hell away from me. I'm looking for someone. Everyone, just go back to what you were doing. Don't get involved if it's none of your damn business." He sounded even more proud and arrogant now than he'd been in front of Kevin just a few minutes before. Then he spotted Kevin still sitting in the same spot with Lily and Nicole. He swaggered over with a dozen bullies. "Kid, I'll give you one more chance. You're going to get down on your knees and apologize to me. Then I'll show these two women a really good time tonight. If you do that, we'll call it good." He sneered at Kevin, then he took a knife from the man next to him and drove it hard into the table in front of them. Lily's face went pale in an instant and she hugged Kevin's arm tightly. Nicole, on the other hand, didn't panic at all. "Who are you trying to scare anyway? Don't you even know this man's name?" The group of thugs was stunned for a second. They really didn't know who Kevin was and started to have some doubts. Could he be the toughest man in Chicago? Or maybe he belongs to a powerful family, Smitty and the others thought to themselves. After all, Chicago was a huge city. You could spend your whole life without crossing paths with someone more powerful than you. Smitty came back to his senses and opened up his fist. He pointed at himself and said arrogantly, "Well, do you know who I am?" "I really don't know." Kevin smiled and shook his head. "And I really don't care either." There was no sign of fear on his face. "My name is Smitty. Have you ever heard of Dalton Steel? He's my brother-in-law," Smitty said confidently. "So now, smartass, you're going to apologize to me. If you don't, my buddies here will pound the crap out of you." Kevin got a funny look on his face when he heard Smitty say this. Who would have guessed? This actually turned out to be Dalton's brother-in-law. "My name's Kevin Williams. It doesn't matter if you haven't heard of me, but you better call Dalton before you make another move." Kevin leaned back in his chair and put his feet up on the table. This was going to get interesting. Smitty returned to the nightclub with a group of thugs. As it turns out, he was Dalton Steele's brother-in-law, and now he wanted to take revenge on Kevin for embarrassing him in front of everyone earlier. However, Smitty was unaware of Kevin's own association with Dalton. Kevin then introduced himself and told him to call Dalton before making another move.
Who? Cut the... I've never heard of him.
Smitty sneered and turned his head to ask his men.
Have any of you guys heard of Kevin Williams?
What kind of stupid name is that? It's so generic and unpleasant to hear. I don't care who he is, I only acknowledge you as my boss. One of Smitty's men mocked.
He's right, boss. Just give me the word and I'll deal with this lowlife. I'll surely beat some sense into this guy to make sure he knows who he's messing with.
Another one chimed in.
Boss, why don't you go grab a drink and rest for a while? See if I can teach this good lesson for you.
It seemed that all of Smitty's thugs wanted a piece of Kevin as more than 20 men laughed and jeered at him. They vastly outnumbered him, so they didn't think he stood a chance. The onlookers who were watching this commotion shook their heads one after another. Some of them even let out a sigh.
It would suck to be that man right now. He actually provoked Smitty? What was he thinking?
One of the onlookers said as he nudged his friend. His friend agreed.
I know, right? Smitty's a relative of the Steele family. I think he'll definitely end up in the hospital even if he doesn't die tonight.
It's a pity those two beautiful women have such bad taste to be associated with such a useless person, the onlooker added. Hearing the comments from the crowd, the sneer on Smitty's face grew even bigger as he directed his attention back to Kevin.
Now that you know who you're dealing with, hurry up and choose your fate. I don't have any extra time to waste with you.
Just as Smitty said this, Kevin did something that nobody expected.
How dare you insult me like that?
Even if Dalton came here personally, he wouldn't talk to me like that. Who the hell do you think you are? Kevin spat on the ground with disdain. The whole club suddenly became silent. Even the music was turned off by now. The manager was so scared that his eyes seemed like they were about to fall out. He quickly walked to the back of the bar and sat down to make a call. The rest of the onlookers, including the rest of Smitty's men, still couldn't believe what they had just witnessed, and they hadn't recovered from their shock just yet.
I didn't see it wrong, did I? This man kicked Smitty right in the chest?
One of the onlookers asked. Someone else from the crowd suddenly recalled,
I remember now. He seems to be that good-for-nothing son-in-law who lucked into marrying someone from the Jones family. No wonder he looks familiar.
Is that true? And he chose to go up against Smitty? Will he find a way out of this mess? The onlooker wondered. Another person replied,
Members of the Steele family are people you shouldn't dare to mess with. Even if this man belongs to the Jones family, he won't be able to get out of this easily.
Nicole looked at Kevin worriedly. Since so many people were saying that the Steele family was powerful, it was obvious that they weren't people that ordinary folks could provoke. However, Lily wasn't worried much at all. In any case, Kevin had a good relationship with Dalton. Perhaps she could still convince Kevin to treat Smitty to a meal to smooth things over and avoid causing any trouble. Although Kevin might lose some face because of this, at least it was much better than being beaten up.
You useless piece of... You actually dared to hit me?
Smitty was infuriated. He understood that Kevin had no plan to back down, so he no longer wanted to play games with him either.
What are you all still standing there for? Hurry up and attack!
Smitty raised his arm and called out his men. While he shouted at his men, he coughed a few times. It seemed that Kevin's kick was quite powerful because it had knocked the wind out of him. After receiving the order, the 20 or so strongmen all raised their knives at Kevin. Their weapons reflected the dance club's shiny lights onto the surrounding crowd. Seeing this, Lily and Nicole both cried out in horror as they feared for Kevin's life. Meanwhile, the other people in the nightclub either turned their heads away or covered their mouths with their hands. Not wanting to associate themselves with Kevin and the two women, they were afraid of making any noise that would get them into trouble. Everyone's hearts raced as they watched. The nightclub was filled with screams of panic as the onlookers prayed for their own survival. With so many men fighting, No one in the crowd could figure out what was going on. However, a few minutes later, all the chaos died down as Kevin stood alone in the middle of the dance floor, twisting his wrist. On the other hand, Smitty's men were all lying on the ground, clutching their arms and letting out miserable cries. Everyone's jaws dropped at the unexpected outcome. Their legs were trembling and their faces were filled with disbelief. They looked at Kevin as if they had just seen a terrifying ghost. "I told you to get lost, but you chose to come back and provoke me. You left me with no choice but to do this to your men," Kevin coldly remarked as he slowly walked towards Smitty. "Do you know why you can still stand?"
I don't know,
Smitty answered almost subconsciously, fearing for his life. "That's because of your brother-in-law, Dalton." Kevin took out his phone and called Dalton. Dalton immediately picked up and was the first to speak.
Kevin, there's no need to explain anything. I already know what happened. I'm on my way.
"Hurry up. Your brother-in-law has caused quite a lot of trouble here," Kevin replied.
Wait for me. I'll be there soon.
After that, Dalton didn't say anything else and ended the call. Kevin then turned around and went back to Lily. He gently patted the back of her head and asked, "Were you scared?" It was only at this time that Lily finally returned to her senses. While she knew Kevin could fight, she never thought that he would be so powerful. "Kevin, did you really defeat all of these men?" Nicole was still in a state of disbelief. "Who else could have done it if it wasn't me?" Kevin didn't know how else to answer her. "Oh my God, Kevin! I can't believe you're so powerful now." Nicole's eyes grew wide with uncontrollable excitement. Just a moment ago, she had been as worried for Kevin as Lily. "What will happen to you and the others? Will you be arrested?" Lily asked worriedly. Kevin had already gone to prison before after a similar scuffle at the Salix Leaf Hotel. That wouldn't be the case tonight, would it? Kevin knew what Lily was worried about and reassured her. "Don't worry, Lily. They just dislocated their arms. Of course, I only showed them mercy because of Dalton. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been as lucky." By now, the surrounding crowd had slowly come back to their senses as well. One of them commented,
Didn't they say he was just a good-for-nothing son-in-law? Maybe they were talking about some other guy. Besides, how can he be so good at fighting?
"I can't believe he defeated more than 20 knife-wielding men using his bare hands. I thought I'd only see something like that in the movies," another onlooker added. "He only crippled their arms because of Smitty's connection with Dalton. If it had been anyone else." When someone mentioned this, the rest of the crowd couldn't help but shudder at the thought. Meanwhile, Smitty's men grimaced in pain as they nursed their injuries. Their faces were pale, and their foreheads were covered in cold sweat. As soon as some of them managed to get back up, there was only one thought in their minds right now: run! Seconds later, a couple of Smitty's men quickly bolted through the nightclub's exit, leaving their boss and fellow thugs behind. Despite this, Smitty remained confident. As long as Dalton was willing to help him, he would definitely have his revenge on Kevin. Little did he know that Kevin had actually called Dalton earlier, and his brother-in-law was already on the way. When Kevin had mentioned that he personally knew Dalton and warned him against provoking him earlier, Smitty assumed that he was only bragging. How powerful was this guy? Even if Kevin was quite skilled and strong with his punches and kicks, he was still just a good-for-nothing son-in-law who lived off his wife. So while Smitty was crawling his way to the nightclub's exit to escape, he was surprised to bump into Dalton, who had just arrived.
Dalton, help me! There's a stupid piece of over there who wants to kill me, and he even said that he's friends with you.
Smitty uttered in relief as if his life-saving prayer had just been answered.
Hi, Kevin here. If you're wondering what happens next, then stay tuned on the Pocket FM Universe channel for more episodes.